Hello, Bible Baptist teens. Let me ask you a question. Is God in control? Well, if God is in control, then does that mean God has a plan? And I submit to you, yes, God has a very specific plan for everything. What's going on in this world right now and what's going on in your life. Let's read in Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11, and see what God has to say about having a plan or a desire for our lives. It reads here, it says, "For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end." You know, when we're in the right fellowship with God and we apply the principles, the biblical principles to our life, what we find, it doesn't matter what comes at us. God's in control. He's got this thing. Let's open up our Bibles now to Matthew chapter 19, verse 26. And what we find here, it reads, "But Jesus beheld them and said unto them, With men this is impossible, but with God all things are possible." Even in these challenging times when we don't quite understand or we can't see the end, God's in control. We're to stand fast, have faith, and stay the course. And our last verse today is going to be Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6. It's a very familiar verse. Let's open up our Bibles and read that. You know, it says, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths." You know, the most peaceful place for a Christian to reside in is living in the will of God. That's right, when we're applying the principles of God's word in our lives, it's the most peaceful place we can live, no matter what's going on in the world around us. Let me give you an object lesson on how that works. You see, this balloon and say this wood stake, it seems like an impossible thing for me to poke this without popping the balloon right through and inside of it. And I suppose without applying the principles, the scientific principles, it's probably not possible. But watch, when I do it without the scientific principles, every time it's going to fail. It really doesn't matter how we do it. Let me give you an example. I might take the point in the balloon where there's less stress, but it's still the same outcome. But you know, when we apply the principles, the scientific principles in this case, it says if we apply Dawn dish soap to the stake itself, and I'm going to do that here, and I apply that, not only am I obeying the scientific principles here, I should be able to have an expected outcome. Now watch, I'm going to take this stake here, and I'm going to poke it through the balloon. And if I do it right, as you can see, it's not going to pop. You see there? It's not going to pop. Now, most people would look at this and say, this is impossible to do. And without the scientific principles being applied, it is. And that goes the same with the Bible, God's Word. You know, without applying God's Word properly in our lives, living it out, this life can be really tough. And we may have unexpected times. But you know, we can have expected times knowing that God is in control no matter what happens when we apply God's Word in our lives. Until next time, we'll see you soon.